Welcome everybody to Spiritually Raw. How are you this fantastic, phenomenal day? Hope your life is going well. Hope you're ascending well. Hope you're manifesting well. Hope everything you've ever dreamed of is coming true for you.
Yay!
But again, as always, in the event that it's not, we bring on amazing guests to help you with this stuff, right? So today we have, you probably already remember him, Mr. 5D is back with us.
Mr. 5D Trader.
Yeah, Mr. 5D Trader, Mr. Julio Mercano. Awesome. So we're happy to have him back. And you all know Pimpy, aka Pimpy. So he's back with us today. So what we're going to talk about today is about really how to manifest. So like in previous shows, we've talked about very specific things like the gold and silver, the cryptos, and how to really apply those in your life. But we really wanted to hear from these gentlemen about what are the principles, the universal, spiritual, whatever, however you define it. What are the principles that they use in their lives, and what kind of wisdom can they share with us to help us have a better journey in our life? So feel free to ask questions in the chat, subscribe to the channel.
And what they're doing also on their own personal 5D journey.
Yeah, this is so good to know. So, and again, so just go ahead and put your comments in the chat, all that goes along with it. Pimpy, what's the famous line you always say about like, subscribe, and share? Can you say that?
No, I feel like, what was it?
How you say it? Like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
He's got a
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
That's right. Don't whatever he said, everybody. All right, and we got some ebooks, right?
Yeah. So make sure to click on the links in the description for our 2 ebooks, The 12 Universal Laws and Alchemy Abundance. Both of them are in the description. You guys will love them. They're really help you on your 5D and your spiritual and your prosperity and your abundance journey. So
important that we're got these here. And again, we're really super grateful for these 2 gentlemen to come out here and share their life's journey with us. So Julio, I want to start with you if I can, and welcome back. Can you tell us from your perspective, just so I know these things are not really clearly defined. Everybody has their own interpretation. But when you think of terms like, let's say, 5D or the 5th dimension, and how you grab it, like what does that mean to you? How do you process that as a business person, as a person living and manifesting things in your life?
Well, the way I process is basically we live in a 3D world, right? But in reality, what I believe inside of me, what my soul has been telling me, is that we're 5D beings. So we choose to come to this beautiful earth, to incarnate here, so to speak, in order to what? To experience, to live life, to learn lessons, and to experience the type of life that we cannot experience when we are on the other side, whatever name you want to assign to the other side. So if we come down here, we choose to incarnate, to come into this planet, to have the lives with us, to have the type of life that we choose to have based on our free will, knowing that this is, I don't want to call it a simulation, but in reality we're really co-creating our world, manifesting our world as we live. So why not manifest it in a way how children play, right? When you see children playing, they're completely into it. They're having fun, they're laughing, they're having a great time. So in my experience, that's the best way for me to see life. And if you apply that to your finances, to your relationships, to anything professional, knowing that, hey, don't forget to have fun. Don't forget to, today could be your last day. Think of your mortality. Yes, and think of death could be at the around the corner. So why not just live every day as if it was our last? Kind of like assume the philosophy, and knowing that one day everything's gonna end. We're gonna go back to our true home, where we came from. And when we do the life review at the end, we want to make sure that that we had a great time, that we helped people, that we were of service, and that we didn't take life too seriously, but at the same time, that we learned our lessons and we did the best we could.
I love what you said, because I say that all the time too. Live every day as though it's your last, because you really never know when it's coming. And if we just stop sweating the small stuff so much more and start enjoying the things that are now in the present, that is really, from my perspective, how you attain a 5D lifestyle or happiness or abundance. That is really what it's all about, living in the present.
Pimpy, you actually have made a living and for the last years having a show that really talks about wealth and abundance or the possibility of wealth and abundance. So you literally, for lack of a better term, maybe been chanting a mantra, if you would. Do you find that when you're out there talking about these different things, these different currencies, how do you associate that in terms of attracting wealth or abundance in your life for what you do as a profession?
I mean, for me, the biggest issue is dealing with other content creators who are not being very honest about the subject matters. And, that bothers me. But I find that the more honest you are, well, you're going to have a lot more haters, that's for sure. But people will draw to you automatically. They want somebody who's grounded. They want somebody who's going to tell them the truth and not blow smoke up their butt. But, people, we were talking about relationships one time. I remember a teacher and I, and this girl, I brought up a fact that she was in a relationship in which she was being beaten. This guy was beating her. And she was really feeling lost and felt like she couldn't get out of her situation. And I just said this to her. I said, well, what do you mean? You're exactly where you want to be. And I didn't mean it the way it sounded. It just came out that way. But she's like, what does that mean? I go, well, what it means is you don't have to tolerate what you're going through. You don't have to be there. People go, well, it's easier said than done. No, it's not easier said than done. Just do it. Just get out of the relationship. Okay. And that's like life itself. If you don't like where you are in your life, then change it. People always have excuses for why they are where they are, why they're as poor as they are, any kind of addictions that they have. There's nothing but excuses. Just change it. The point I was trying to get to was this. When it comes to manifesting, I think I'm trying to figure out a good way to word this. For me, let me give you an example. Okay, real quick. I'll give you an example. When it comes to manifestation, prayer, okay? I'm talking about when people pray. It drives me crazy when I see people praying and they always look so doom and gloom. I told this story about I was walking in this hospital to see a friend of mine, and as I walked by this room, you could see the families were crying, they were holding hands, standing over somebody who's really sick, and they were praying. And I go, and I could feel it, and I was like, no, don't say nothing, just walk by. And I said, no, I can't stand this. So I walked over, I said, stop, take your hand off her. They're like, who the hell are you? You know what I mean? I said, you guys are praying wrong. You want to manifest something? You want this person to get healed? Don't say I'm praying for them to get better and then pray over them and you're visualizing them being sick. You're making them more sicker. Yeah, you have to visualize them being healthy. When you pray, smile. Think about all the happy things you had with this person. Think about, I said, what's the happiest moment you have with her? What do you guys remember the most? I go, her in the kitchen and us laughing. I go, okay, so we're going to pray. Let's pray about her. See her in the kitchen, saying silly things, cooking, whatever she does, whatever makes you guys smile. You have to visualize that. Not, oh my gosh, she's dying. You guys are killing her. You're literally manifesting the sickness on her. So if you want her to get better, you have to visualize her being up and about. So when you pray, make sure you see the good, the healthy, her standing up, her talking to you, her out of this damn hospital. You know what I mean? That's how you should do it. The next day, she was there sitting there. She goes, it was you that was doing the prayer thing. And I go, what do you mean? You were sleeping. She goes, I can hear you. Your voice is loud. I was like, oh, okay. So she was saying, thank you. That's
you sell her a St. Pimpy necklace.
Yeah. Pimpy. I know you gotta live it. People are like, how does this guy talk about God all the time? His name's Pimpy. I go, yeah, you gotta live it. But yeah, when you talk about manifestation, it's a matter of we are conditioned to think a certain way. You know what I mean? From the time we're born, we're being told you can't do this, you can't do that. One time, a church leader and me were going back and forth. He goes, oh, what do you think you're God? I says, yes. And he got mad. He goes, I go, what are you mad about? The Bible tells you that that God said that we are the sons and daughters of the Most High. And we are a God. And he says, and I say you're a God. So what's the difference between when the Bible says it versus when I say it? So I was just being smart alecky. But the point being, we are all co-creators, like he was saying. We are co-creators. we have these abilities that were given to us by God, and we are being conditioned not to be who our true selves are. I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting. Was having a long text conversation with someone today about exactly this, and their mantra, especially on social media, because they have a channel, it's always the same thing: the woe is me, and you know, why the world is this way, and God is doing this to me, and God is doing that to me. And I was like, literally, I had it today. So I said, listen, you know what? Here's the bottom line. If you want to change your life, change your goddamn story. Stop repeating the same story, because all you're doing is causing and creating more of that story. I said, start a happy story. I said, if you don't have a happy story, make up a happy story. That is how you start to recreate and create that life. You know, and it's interesting. If anybody's ever watched that series, it's called Inventing Anna. Now, I'm not saying what she did was right or wrong for anybody that's watched it, but it's about this girl who literally.
Don't ruin it.
Well, she's like the female version of Bernie Madoff. Let's just put it that way. But the point of it is this: she, in her mind, created this figment of imagination of a family, of a father, of wealth, of this and that. So, and she grew up totally the opposite, and this is actually a true story. And what actually happened was she turned into literally like a very elite socialite.
She manifested it.
Visualized it over and over.
Well, she visualized it, but she also spoke it.
She believed wholeheartedly that she was this figure that she had created in her mind, and that became her reality.
Julio, that's where magic comes in. You just said it. She spoke it. People don't realize how big of a part magic has in our life, because when you get, you know, very religious people that get all bent. Oh, you're talking about magic. Oh gosh, you guys, it's not the boogeyman. Trust me, the words. Bible's riddled with magicians. You just don't know it. So
it's the energy behind the words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is.
Our language is literally, you know, we're casting spells. That's why it's called spelling. And you heard people say this before. You know, every time we speak words, as a co-creator, we are manifesting things. So if you're constantly, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God, I always got so many bills. You're bringing all that onto yourself. You know what I mean?
You're creating more of it.
Julio, I want to ask your opinion on this. When it comes to kind of that theme that we just have been discussing right there, let's talk in terms, if I can, from your perspective on vibrational matches. When you think about this concept of, okay, I'm co-creating, I can create this thing, I can have fun like a kid, I can create this abundance in my life. When you get, for example, the way you process this, and again, this is how you process it. So we always say to everybody, listen, take what you want, throw the rest away, right? But the way you process it is, when someone is a Debbie or Donnie Downer, do you, if you're conscious of it, is it incumbent upon us to really embrace this 5D lifestyle by disconnecting eloquently from that? Or do we dive in and try to pull them back up and maybe give it one hell of a good shot, and then that's it and we're out? Or where do you stand on that?
Well, this is something I really learned the hard way. You have to understand that everybody's in their own path. You know, everybody has a purpose in this life, and everyone is different. So not everybody's going to think the way you do, or the way April does, or Pimpy. So what I learned is that you have to only offer help if you are asked. Mm-hmm. So if you try to interfere with their evolution, with their path, with that karma they're going through, and you try to like pull them out of the hole, which is something like my whole life I've been doing. You know, I see people in the hole, I try to like, you know, throw a lifeline, pull them out of there, come out of there, smile, be joyful. This is just a bump on the road. Some people just want to stay down there because they need to.
Plus, you're interfering with their free will.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you said, I agree 100%. They have to ask for it. You know, some people say, well, why do you have to ask? If you see it, why don't you do something? That's their decision. That's why I was saying there's only one person responsible for where you are in life. That's you. Your happiness, your sadness, your wealth, how poor you are. It's all on you, not everybody else. So if you need help, go ahead and ask. But if people try to interfere, in my opinion, you know, that's violating people's free will. And I know that sounds crazy, but you gotta if you really understand how without using the words, magic works, but these people, it's better for them to ask for help and then guide them into the manifestation, how to do it, how to get out of the rut that they're in, how to change their lives, versus if you're trying to tell them and then they become resistant towards it. That makes sense?
Absolutely. And not everyone's ready to hear the truth. Not everyone's ready to remove the blindfold. How many of you guys, in the audience, have you have friends of yours that are involved in a toxic relationship? You can see clearly that person's not good for them, but they just choose to be there, and they just don't see it. And if you tell them, end the relationship, break up with the person, that they just can't. Much later when it happens, it was like, man, you were right. I should have listened to you. But no, at that moment, that person was not ready to listen because they had to go through what they had to, that they had to learn that lesson. So Pimpy, just, kind of like piggyback on what you said and about, manifestation, and visualization. So when you think of the term emotion, think of it as like emotion, energy in motion. So when we visualize and we create those positive, high frequency vibrations of emotions of joy, of love, compassion, power, combined with visualization, that's when the magic happens. When you believe with every ounce in your body, you believe that it's already happening, not that it will happen. No, that is already happening. And you can visualize and maintain. The key here is maintaining that visualization, maintaining that frame, and seeing, smelling, sensing, absolutely everything, as it's already happened, and maintaining your focus, maintaining your intention, channel laser focus into that. There comes to a point where the universe acknowledges and energy in motion, emotions, starts to happen. And that's when you make miracles happen. That's, I believe that everything is possible in this life. And the only limits that we have are the ones that we put on ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Let me give you a funny example people can relate to. When you talk about the power of manifestation, it never fails that when you go to drive your car and the tags are expired or whatever, and you say to yourself, man, I don't want to get caught by a cop. But as soon as you get in your car, you're already visualizing a cop behind you. And then what happens? There's a cop right behind you. You don't realize that I know that's a crazy example, but you get what I'm saying. It's when you already visualize something like that happening, and then there's a cop right behind you. If you just go, there's not going to be no cop, just go for it. I know that's a crazy example, but people, if you're really focused on a police officer pulling you over, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get pulled over.
Yeah. Pimpy, I want to get, again, with talking to people, and kind of, I want to tag on this, really want to drive this home because it's so important. Do you feel we're at a different place in history when you talk in concept of this 3D, 5D, or has it really always been there? And maybe we're just like, what the hell was that? You know what I mean? There's something. Has this type of energy, force, our ability to be able to attract the wealth in our life, our ability to be able to track the cop that's about to pull us over because we have expired tags, has that level of energy from your perspective always been here? Or is this something that's really new to the life we're in right now, that we're living in this particular era?
No, it's always been there. That goes back to building your relationship with God. The more you have a relationship with God, the more you realize these things are available to you, and they were God-given gifts. But definitely this time in our lives and in history, it's there's a, everybody says this, but it's legit. We are truly in a spiritual war, and we get to these points more than once throughout history. We get to these points, and it gets. What God's really saying is, you guys are going to get yourself in such a position that you're just going to either tear yourselves apart, or you're going to turn to where you should be, turning to God, like we should be. We should be all turning to God.
Or I mean, if taking that philosophy, and we believe that, or you believe that we are God, would it really be turning within? Turning within and going within.
So there is a higher being. All right. So now you're gonna make me let me just say something. In the beginning, there was just God. God was aware, all of a sudden became aware of who God was, okay? And so when it says in the beginning there was light, it's not light, it's in the beginning there was knowledge. Light in the Hebrew word is the same as knowledge. So in the beginning was knowledge. God wanted to have companionship and help express his creativity, and that's where we come in. So we were all one with God at one time. Then he allowed us to have free will, but also allowed evil so you can have contrast. I guess, not, bad, good, white, black. So you have contrast so you can learn. And so we are an expression. We are co-creators with God so he can express himself. And I hope people understand what that means. So at one time we were all with God. Then God allowed us to be who we are. But people always ask me, what is the end game? Well, the end game is to bring us all back to the one. That's what it is. But we can't relate to God until we go through all these different experiences that we're going through in our lifetimes. And notice I said lifetimes, not once. There are multiple lifetimes you're going to go through. And I believe we're here. It's like school for us. You know what I mean? You're here to learn certain things. I remember asking, God one time, why don't you just put it all in us? You know what I mean? Why do we have to go through all this? And the response was, what good is a destination if you don't know the path? And at the time I couldn't relate to it. I didn't understand what that meant. But I had a walk with Jesus one time. We were at a school that I went to. People are probably, what the hell are they talking about? I went to the school called Wakeham Elementary. It's like 11 miles from the beach, and the fog used to be really thick. It rolled in. So when I was standing there talking to God, I go, or Jesus, I said, man, I remember the fog being this thick. And then we just started walking. We're walking to my house, and you couldn't see but 3 feet in front of you. We had this great conversation. When we finally got to my house, I said, oh, there's my house. And Jesus said, how do you know? I said, that's my house. I grew up here. I know this place. He goes, yeah, but how'd you know to get here? I says, what do you mean? He goes, you mean you knew the path before the destiny? I was like, oh, I hate when you guys do that. You get taught a lesson. You don't realize you're being taught. So we have to go through all of these experiences so we learn the path so we can enjoy the destiny.
Julio, that tagging on what he just did there, let's talk about that. There's so much in the quote unquote spiritual world. Okay, so there's this fine line. Okay, do I call it God? Do I call it God us? Like if I'm talking to April, do I say God us? Or do I have to say God all the time? And there's this he or the she or all this thing like this. Where are we getting caught up on this, my brother? Like, tell me like this, because I know a lot of people are so careful how they address this concept of God. Now roll down to not only Jesus, Buddha, Allah, but more like God or God us. Like now it's more of a gender thing, if you would. How should we, from your perspective, just freely, setting aside the ego, how should we be addressing the concept, or how do you address the concept of God in terms of speaking to co-creator?
Well, I think that's up to whoever is uttering that word, whatever they think, what their background is, their religion. I know there's a lot of gender's a hot topic right now, and honestly, whatever you want to call that source, God, the creator, the universe, the source. I don't think the name is really important. It's just something that we use. It's something that we use to describe something we don't understand. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, we have to be honest here. We don't know what was first, the chicken or the egg. And we don't know where we came from, where we're going. So we can assume, we hear stories, we hear, scriptures, we read scriptures, whether it's the Bible or the Torah. But until we are there, we won't know for sure. So it's not important what name we're using. At the end of the day, I don't think we're able to comprehend the totality of what that word is, what the creator means. Because, we're here having a human experience. We're stuck in the 3D world. We use 10% of our brains. Technology has advanced 1,000-fold compared to our spiritual evolution. And that's, it's just something that I keep seeing where technology keeps advancing, but we as humans have not advanced spiritually. And that's obviously there's a disconnect there. And that's why we're having all the issues in the world that we're having today. So call it whatever you want to call it. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Do you know? I mean, I challenge anyone to tell me, matter of factly.
Sure, I'll challenge you. I'll take that challenge. So, yeah. God is your heavenly Father. The word Father is the same as source in Hebrew language. So you have your heavenly Father and you have your biological father. So since he's the Father, he's the source. He's the creator of all of us. That when you talk about male, female, you're mostly talking about energy levels. You have a female energy and a male energy, but our heavenly source, our Father, our Heavenly Father. It's a male energy. So it's definitely, God is a male. There's no doubt about it. And when you talk about whether God's, male or female, even in there it talks about God's sons, the son of God, sons of gods. You talk about the angels; they are the sons of God. Okay, so because he's a creator, he created him. That makes him our father. People are looking at this with with private parts. That's not the way to view it, man. This isn't about what sex is God. It's about the energy and he is our Heavenly Father. He is our creator. He's our source. The male energy is what he is.
Male energy is what he is. How do you look in these terms when people say we're going into the era of the goddess or it's the feminine energy? Is there something to that? Is it off balance from what you perspective, how you see it as from a female's perspective living in this 3D body? How do you interpret that? Like, do you say, okay, oh yeah, like, oh here, here I am. It's the time of the lioness. You know what I mean? It's the time of the woman, and because there's some men that say, holy shit, here they come. You know what I mean? So like, how are you perceiving it?
I don't really think about it from that perspective. But I do see globally, I mean, I feel like that the feminine energy is coming more into the forefront. And I think a lot has to do with, you have so many government officials, so many people that are in that very male dominated energy that it feels like it has been all thrown off balance. And I think from my perspective that, the female energy, the feminine energy, the goddess energy, whatever you want to call it, is coming more into the forefront to, here's the bottom line. Everything in life, whether we're talking about economics, whether we're talking about your personal relationships, whether we're talking about anything, the bottom line is you have to have balance. You have to have balance in your life. That is the key to manifesting everything, especially even when you're talking about your own personal relationships. When you're in a relationship, because I could have a tendency to have a lot of masculine energy. I've been a female entrepreneur really my whole life. So I've always had that type of mentality, a strong energy, especially from my mom. So when my feminine energy becomes off balance and I'm projecting more dominant or male energy, that throws off not only our relationship, it's going to throw off everything around us, including everything in the house, our finances, our business. So it's that constant. And when I start to feel like more of that masculine energy is coming out of myself, I have to take a step back and say, you know what? You need to do something that's going to make you feel girly. Go shopping, go get your nails done, take a breather, go to the spa, because I have to make sure that I'm maintaining that equilibrium of male to female energy. Otherwise, it's literally going to bring the house down. So I think essentially, if you think, well, if you're just one person, and your own energy becomes off balance, think of how that magnetizes to uncomprehendable measures when the world becomes off balance energetically, male and female. And well, I think for a long time it has been off balance.
Well, we balance is a perfect way to describe it. Whenever we spiritually on this planet start to get out of balance, if it gets too far one way or the other, this is when God will personally intervene with what's going on, because it has to be balanced. There has to be this perfect balance between, I don't want to use the word terms good or bad, but spiritually, there has to be, use male, female, energies. There has to be a perfect balance. If the planet is so far out of whack, or the spirituality on this planet is so out of whack, God will personally come here and do something about it. About 2 or 3 years ago, woke up in the nighttime. I just felt the entire earth shake. The entire earth shook. It's not like an earthquake. It felt like a boom. And I remember waking up and immediately, I turned to Jesus and said, what the heck was that? He goes, what did it feel like? I said, it felt like an earthquake. He's like, yeah, so here's something that I learned. Every time we have an earthquake, do you understand that's a shift spiritually? That's literally tied to the Bible. Every earthquake we have, it's tied into the shift spiritual. Our spirituality is shifting. So I said, but I also said to him, I go, I had this dream. I told him what the dream was. I said, but weird. I can literally feel Father coming here. You know, people say, well, God's here and he's everywhere. No, this was different. I felt like God personally coming here. Jesus said, yeah, definitely on his way. And that's when I learned about the balance and everything else. But it definitely has to be balanced. If we're out of whack, things can get crazy, as you can see.
Right away.
Totally.
Exactly.
Julio, that statement that we've heard, a lot of us have heard in life, oh, well, behind every or with every successful man, there's a woman.
A strong woman.
A strong woman. Have we been given clues like tap into your feminine energy, or has that literally been like literally get a, you know what I mean? Like how would you interpret that in today, in 2023? How would you interpret that statement?
I will probably interpret it as a balancing of the male and female energy. And I always have this question in my head when I go to bed at night. It's like, imagine the world leaders were all women. We will be in the type of predicament that we are now with all these wars and all these issues that we're currently experiencing. You know, I think the female energy is a more compassionate, gentle, more led by emotions, you know, thinking twice before acting, really, you know. And men are impulsive, you know. We have testosterone, there's aggressiveness, there's domination. So behind that statement, Jane, to answer your question, is usually when you see a man that is very successful, at times, you know, when that person happens to be in a relationship, there tends to be, you know, the significant other, the woman, balancing some of the male energy and basically creating a harmony. You know, for example, before I make any big decisions in my life, I consult with my wife to get a different perspective, because sometimes I can only think very linear. And that's a usually men thing, very linear, straightforward. You know, this is the path from A to B. I have a problem. This is the solution. Let's execute it. Women, you know, they go a different way around things. And it's a little bit, you know, maybe it's different from what we do as men, but it's the input and the value of that influence of the female energy to balance things out, put things into perspective, is very important. Same for a woman, you know, women that are very successful. Some of them are successful on their own, you know, they may or may not even be in a relationship, but some of them that are married, you know, and have a great communication and a great relationship with their significant other, with their husbands, you know, they tend to consult and they tend to, you know, just talk about things, you know, just to get the perspective. And then together, as a whole, as a couple, you get to a conclusion, you get to make that decision. Because when you're in a relationship, you know, decisions play a big part of your relationships. You cannot just decide something and then inform your partner later. You know, the other person usually appreciates giving the heads up or having their input taken into consideration, right? So that's how I see it. Behind a woman, there's a great man, and behind a great man, there's a great woman, because
there's nothing more
But do you see that's why these evil people attack the nuclear family. All right. When there's balance in your house, notice there's a lot more peace. So, you know, here you go. The males have their energy, the females have their energy. People hate when I say this, because we've gotten to a point now when you make a statement like, you know, the male does his part. His job is to go to work, provide for the family. It's like go out and hunt, provide for the family. The wife stays home, takes care of the house, takes care of the kids. If you say something like that nowadays, all hell breaks loose. But that was the perfect harmony. That was the balance. You notice that things were a lot better when a nuclear family was emphasized. And now it's attacked. Now look at the kind of children that we got raised. You know, they're fatherless. They're out there, you know, robbing, stealing, in jail. All this stuff, everything is out of whack because we attacked the nuclear family. And I get people don't like that tradition, but it's the truth. We had balance in our house. When you have harmony and balance in your house, the harmony and balance is carried outwards, carried with your neighbors. You have harmony with your neighbors instead of fighting with them. You know what I mean? That's having a spiritual balance there, you know, in your household. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, Pimpy, tagging on that one real quick for a second. I want to get your perspective when you take a look at spiritual household and families. There's this whole thing, and I guess the internet has probably amplified all of this. So, but there's this whole thing about, oh, okay, there's my soul brother, there's my soul sister, right? And there's my collective family, there's my soul family. But yet there's a lot of guilt with people that saying, well, wait a minute, am I denouncing my regular family? And how do you see that? So when people seek out a quote unquote an internet family, and however they perceive it, whatever goes with it, aren't we really all family? I mean, is there something to the fact of like this nuclear family or this linear real, like a bloodline, if you would, versus what we perceive as these amazing connections? I mean, are we supposed to seek that? Do we? How do you help people? I guess is what I'm asking you, because I know a lot of
is what you're talking about.
They get to the point that they want to reach out to people, but they feel like they're denouncing their bloodline family when they say, okay, well, Pimpy is my soul brother or Julio is my soul brother. You know what I mean? And then, well, what about my own goddamn brother? You know what I mean? So people think that how do you reconcile that? And how
Julio, let me ask you, I like what Jay's saying, but people got to understand there's some people you relate with more than others, and they might not necessarily be family members, but what you're talking about is people coming together like a community. I don't understand why anybody in your family would be bent if you had a strong relationship elsewhere. It's not the same as your family. Having, a strong community to, circle the wagons or, come together in a time of need. We just don't have that anymore. You know what I mean? We're missing that. So developing relationships outside of your family is very necessary.
Yes. Julio, your perspective on that, just that whole concept of reaching out and really, you got your immediate family that took you to where you're at in life, and now you have, now you go, right? And then you find another family. Like, how do people reconcile that? How do you reconcile it? And maybe what advice do you give to people that are literally going through that? Because there's a lot of that, that we see.
I think, again, we all have free will, and we all get to choose our own family and our friends and the circle of people that we surround ourselves with. So it really comes down to a choice. There's a lot of people who don't even get along with their own blood family, but they have people that are not related and they get along great. So again, it's a frequency vibration matching. When you guys heard about the law of attraction, right? You attract what you are. So I found myself, my own personal life, attracting people in my life that have the same level of thinking, similar philosophy, a similar spirituality. That's how I met you guys, you, Jay, and April. Because there are no coincidences, right? Everything's synchronicities in life. Everything is meant to happen. Everything that is meant to happen will happen. But if we really go back from the spiritual perspective, all is one and one is all. The idea of separation is an illusion. To believe that I'm separate, I'm different from Pimpy and Jay and April and the person next to me. Yes, right now in this 3D world, because we have an ego and we have a persona that we have created, and we have our mind. What is the mind? The mind is an accumulation of all of our, past history, beliefs, paradigms, experiences, trauma, so forth and so on. So we have a name that we didn't even choose ourselves, and we're here on this planet, and then we have this idea of separation, but in reality, we're all one. When we go back to the source, again, I haven't confirmed this, but this is what I feel and what I believe inside of me, that we all go back to being all one, all part of the one, all part of the, like Pimpy said, the Heavenly Father, the source, the universe, the creator, the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it. So the idea of separation is an illusion. And for those people who are struggling, disowning their blood family because they have another, let's say a spiritual family that they feel more closely related to, be a part of both of them. Why not? Why not just love everyone and accept everyone? You don't have to have the same philosophies and, ideas to get along with somebody. You have to embrace and respect everyone for who they are in whatever part of their journey they're in, and whether they're blood or not blood related. I'll give you an example. Myself, I have people that are not blood related that I'm way closer to than my own blood related family. my own blood, so to speak. And I think nothing wrong with that. I love them both. I accept them both. I just have more things in common with one and the other.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference.
You know, I remember Jesus talking about this, a disciple, and they were walking, and he kept talking about, oh, he couldn't wait. So when he died, he can go be with Father in heaven. He kept pointing up in the air, and Jesus didn't say anything. He just took his hand and twirled it right back at him, pointed towards his chest. Didn't say anything. Drove me crazy. And the guy just stopped, and then he started speaking. He goes, well, when I die, I can't wait to go be in heaven. Jesus never said a word. Took his hand and pointed it right back towards his chest. And that drove me crazy. I was growing up. I was like, why didn't you say anything? What does that mean exactly? He goes, you'll get it. I remember having a discussion about how people were saying, well, Jesus is, or God is omnipresent. I was like, well, if he's omnipresent, why the hell did he watch your angels at the time? You know, the watch your angels to watch over the men. So that doesn't make sense for him to be omnipresent. Later on, I finally got it. What Jesus was saying, you don't have to wait to go to heaven to be with the Father. The Father's already in you. Already in you. So when they say he made us in his likeness and his image, the real words say he made us in his likeness and he put him inside of us. So as you live your life, you are living your life and you're experiencing it with God. God is already in you. Jesus is saying you don't have to wait to go to heaven to talk to the Father, be with the Father, develop your own personal relationship with God. God is in you.
Yeah,
So
doesn't the Bible
go to
say
judgment days, they want to know how you know your every thought, your every action. It's because as you experience your life, you're experiencing it with God. So when they go, hey, that's how he knows everything. He knows your dreams. He knows your thoughts. You know, so that's how he knows everything, because you're already living your life and experiencing your life with God at the same time, because God's inside of you.
Yeah, they say that the kingdom of God is within us. I believe the Bible says that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
So-
that's obviously up into interpretation, but
That's why they always say it's really important to take care of your temple or your house, because think about what you're doing to your body, whether people do drugs or drink alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing this with God at the same time. So you have to think about what you're doing. If you are distorting your connection with God, then your judgments and your actions, you won't make the right decisions, okay, if you're not in line with God, okay? And I'm talking about the one inside of you. So
earlier you mentioned Pimpy spiritual
Or calling it your spirit.
You mentioned
You're not in line with
spiritual
your own
warfare.
spirit.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I want to go on that one second. You mentioned spiritually warfare. Warfare. I get it out. Is that, if we're God or if we're the co-creator of it, is that war? Is that an internal war going on within us? So, for example, are we Antichrist consciousness, and are we at war within ourselves right now, trying to find that balance, or is there literally an external, angels and demons and how it's depicted in there? Like, how do you process that? How do you see it? And Julio, I'd like to get your to tag on that. I'd like to get your opinion on that one also.
Of course.
Yeah, there are bad entities, I guess is a good way to put it. They mean to do us harm. So when I tell you that there is a spiritual war going on, understand that these things that we're up against spiritually are way more knowledgeable, way more advanced than we are. We have been conditioned our whole life to not know who we are. You know what I mean? Like, we've been separated from who we are, who we truly are, what we truly could be. If you have co-creating powers with God, because God is in you and gave you these abilities, people don't understand that. They don't understand that our abilities to do great things. Can we heal people? Yes. You know what I mean? Like you said, power of manifestation. All these things come because these are gifts from God. Unfortunately, even our church leaders are guilty of this, telling everybody you can't do this. Yes, there's nothing I can't do. It even says in the Bible, with God, you could do everything. So we just been conditioned to, and it's done this way on purpose, conditioned to not know who we really are. And that's a shame, because we have unbelievable abilities, and mentally, we've shut those off, I guess is the best way to put it. I was trying to figure out how to do this. We've either been conditioned to block these abilities off because we're told we can't. This preacher is being a smart butt about something. He goes, yeah, well, if you think you're Jesus, go walk on water. And that, for my whole life, I wanted to do that. And I've been bugging Jesus about teaching me how to do this. So I'm going to tell you what he showed me. He knows how I want to learn to walk on water. And we could do it, believe it or not. So
I definitely think
You gotta have a little plexiglass on there so nobody sees it.
No. So I was complaining to us. Jesus goes, I want you to go do something. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I was having a fit because I'll do it anyways. But I just want to know that I can at least complain about it. So I was having a fit. He goes, I tell you what, if you do this, what I want, he goes, I'll teach you how to walk on water. I was like, oh, you serious? Pew, ran, did it. Did what I did, came back, said, okay. He goes, I'm going to show you. Ready? I said, yes. Then in my mind, I seen this pattern. I said, what the heck is this? He goes, that's how you walk on water. And I was like, what is this? This looks like, is this a vibrational pattern of water? He goes, yes. All you got to do is change your vibration, match water, and you can walk around in water. And I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted. But that was the answer. The answer was you have to change your vibrational pattern, match water, and you can walk on water. And I thought, gosh, it seems so simple, but very hard to do it.
Julio, are the spiritual warfare, the light versus dark, the good versus evil, is that our own internal warfare going on from your perspective? Is it external? How do you see it?
Well, I'm one of those who think that the world, the universe itself, is made of a sound, frequency, and vibration. I also believe the highest frequency vibration there is love. There's nothing more pure than the power of love. That frequency, that's as high as you can go. And that's how, other parts of the universe or the 5D where we come from, that's all there is. There's love. One of the reasons we choose to come here and incarnate is to experience the gamut of emotions that we're not able to experience up there, because up there, all is one is all, and we're love, we're all part of God, part of the source. So I believe there's lower vibrations. To me, there's no really good or bad. Those are just words. There's only perception.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You perceive things as being a bless. The next person to you might perceive the same event as being a curse. So it's all how you see. It's all a matter of perspective. So, but I do believe there's a matter of, lower vibrations, such as, hatred and discrimination and anger. And there's the high vibrations, compassion, joy, love, bliss. So are there maybe people in this world that are they don't have the best interest at hand for humanity to advance, spiritually towards a place of love and, brotherhood, where we all get along and we all have plenty of abundance and there's no poverty or wars? Yeah, there are people who are basically, not interested in that, because their interests are more aligned towards, getting their pockets fuller, or dominating or manipulating.
Power, control, greed. Yeah.
Yes, all those. So we also struggle internally because the way we've been conditioned as kids, where we're imposed a religion and rules and beliefs and paradigms and customs, it's hard to break away from that. It's hard to say, you know what, I'm going to redefine myself and I'm going to believe moving forward and only the things that I can prove, only the things that resonate with me. So we all struggle between, good and evil, black and white, but at the same time, it's a matter of perspective. I think there's been great masters that have walk this earth, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad. What were they all preaching about? What was their message?
Love. I love that, Judah. That wasn't an accident. I love that, Judah. Judah. We have now already defined a new avatar, everybody. Coming to Spiritually Raw in the very next episode. That's awesome. I love it. It's all awesome. It's awesome. You guys, this is it. And everybody, listen, we can all agree something or someone or something created us. Now it's like, okay, show us how to live, right? And so we do want to thank our soul brothers here for helping give their journey, their inspiration, their wisdom to help us learn how to live, because that's kind of all we got, right? I think so. So any last minute words from you, Pimpy, before you leave us?
Yeah, this is what I've been telling everybody lately. Look, there's a huge spiritual war going on. Talk about vibrations right now. Those who are really have a great relationship with God, you can feel what God is wanting us to do. We have to lift our vibrational power. He wants the words are coming as our lights to shine bright, because there are some people who are stuck because of low vibrations in a dark area that need help out. So we have to lift up our lights. We have to build a relationship with God. Everything else will be revealed to you. Okay. I'm talking about away from the church, away from the Bible, build a relationship with God, period. And you'll see the truth about a lot of things.
Right on.
Well said.
Julio?
Well, the message I like to convey to our viewers is just to there's only one thing, and only one thing that we are able to control. And that's the only one thing you can control is ourselves, how we think and how we act. So before you choose to flip the finger to the driver or say something that is going to hurt somebody else, instead of reacting, choose to have a conscious response. Choose love, choose being a person of service, choose doing things without expecting anything in return, just being the best version of yourself. And at the end of the day, yeah, there's a lot of things in the world that are happening right now that are not ideal. But if we're able to control us and basically put something good out into the world, eventually that's going to replicate. People are going to see that smile, see that, intention of you wanting to help, of you wanting to love them in a form that doesn't demand for them to pay you back. And eventually, what goes around comes around. One of the things I've done is the world, especially children, what do we see on TV nowadays? Is there a show or a program or a movie where someone is not getting killed or murdered or being hurt? So we are conditioned by seeing the world through Hollywood, and what they're putting out there, the majority of things are just, drugs, crime,
Purposely.
Is horrible. I saw a channeler that you guys, I believe, actually interviewed, Rob Cotier, and he says that we are the only planet where we watch murder as entertainment. And that's not right. Fundamentally, it's not right. We should.
When you put it like that, that is so twisted.
If you put it that way,
right? And that is really absolutely twisted.
Yeah, but it's against your nature. When you see that, you start to become immune to it. So that when it happens in real life in front of you, you just pull your phone out and film it instead of help. You know what I mean?
It's
normal. It's the kind of morbid world we live in.
So that's one of the things that I will advise our viewers, especially with, younger children, just be really mindful of what they watch, because in a world where, love is one of the last things we're putting, and just greed, financially trying to get more money at any cost, it's just not the world that we want to live in. It's not the world that is going to take us where we need to be, to the 5D reality. So,
all right.
Well said. And I couldn't agree with you anymore. If someone upsets you or ruffles your feathers, take a breather. Don't respond. Don't react. So you can make a conscious comment or response back. Do it when your mind is cool and when your mind is calm, so you don't say or do something you might regret.
Right on. So cool. Very cool, guys. You're awesome. I love you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Julio. Thank you, Pimpy. And together with both of you and all of you watching, we are turning the universal key to global harmony and creating a unified world. Please take a quick second, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Much love, many blessings.
We'll see you all next time.